Alright, what's good with y'all niggas, man? If you've already watched my last video, you know about ending A, the happy ending. Pretty much everybody from Paradise gets to live kind of happily ever after, but they may be doomed to relive out this cycle to where Ragnarok does take place again. For the fact that Nidhogg never dies, he actually goes back to Yggdrasil and kind of restarts eating those roots again, or, living off those dead bodies. So based on that is ending A. That's probably the most happy ending we could get out of Attack on Titan, where all the Eldians from Paradise live kind of happily ever after, but they are doomed to kind of repeat the same things over and over again due to the fact that Nidhogg will find a way to latch onto somebody and start things all over again. This is ending B. I'm thinking this is the sadder ending if you are very tied to every character in the series like I am. First, I'm going to go back into how Attack on Titan is tied to Norse mythology, because it's always good to lay that groundwork first. Then I'm going to go into how the Rumbling is linked to Ragnarok. Then I'm going to go into what would happen after Ragnarok. And this is ending type B. So this is going to be that sad ending that nobody kind of wants to see happen. But based on Norse mythology, it's very possible that this would happen. There are 4 big symbols in Attack on Titan that tell me that's based on Norse mythology. Other than the fact that Ymir is named Ymir, and that is a Norse god. And this god was used to create Midgard, and they kind of used their flesh and bones to create a lot of things in the human world. But other than that, there's a world tree. Inside this world tree are 2 people of human shape. These people could either be Askir or Embia, or I'm thinking they're Lif and lifthrasir. But let's get into that a little later. Then there's Nidhogg. He rose from the bottom of that world tree to actively latch onto Ymir, and actively kept Eren alive when he died. Pretty much, Nidhogg strived throughout the series to make sure the Rumbling plan did happen. We don't know exactly how now, but even Gabby thinks that Nidhogg is the true nature of the Titan power. Is Isayama saying the Titan power, no matter what, will lead to the Ragnarok or the Rumbling? We don't exactly know, but if it's a true nature, if Nidhogg's the true nature of the Titan power, then no matter what, the Rumbling would have happened. But anyway, the other piece of evidence is number 3 to me, is the bird Falco. Very similar to that eagle named Vedfolnir. This eagle Norse mythology that sits between the eyes of another bigger eagle or raven. This all-seeing eye sees everything. And it bickers with Nidhogg. And there's a kind of a squirrel that sits between them on that world tree. Vedfolnir sits perched on a tree limb high up in the world tree. Of course, Nidhogg is towards the bottom with the roots. He's chewing at the roots and shit like that. And the squirrel instigates beef between them. And also, if you take a look at Attack on Titan, Bird Falco would beef with Nidhogg because Nidhogg's destroying his world currently. The Rumbling is dropping everybody off. So I guess that's how they both take a play. I could go deeper into it, but I'm not trying to take too long in how Attack on Titan is based on Norse mythology, because I already went into this multiple times. And it would get repetitive for me to go through this every video. But then, of course, Valhalla, it's just simple. Everybody in the Survey Corps who fought valiantly in war, who fought hard in war, were awarded Valhalla. Pretty much is the afterlife of Norse mythology, to where all fallen warriors who fought in battle would sit there, rest, have a feast and party until being rebirthed during the Rumbling, where they will have to fight in the Rumbling to keep the human world alive, or Midgard alive. That was definitely Valhalla we seen when Hange died. She got to see Erwin. That nigga fought hard in battle. I don't think anybody fought harder in battle than Erwin. Hange, the girl on fire, my nigga. She went out like a real OG, a real nigga, bro. And then we also see Erwin in this place. We see a couple of the other fallen Survey Corps members. And also, if we take a good look, we see Sasha in the background. So that pretty much tells me that this is definitely Valhalla. And then we can go into the Rumbling, how this is very similar to Ragnarok in a sense. It's destroying the whole human world, or Midgard. Also, there's quotes. I'm not going to the quotes. We don't need no more quotes. We got enough evidence. Now, let's go into the 2 ways the series can end. I already went through theory A. Everybody gets to live happily ever after, but they would be doomed to repeat these same things again, because Nidhogg never actually died and went back to Yggdrasil, and Nidhogg, no matter what, will eventually lead the world to Ragnarok. It's either that theory or that option, or option B. Everybody dies. Everybody dies but the 2 humans who hid themselves in Yggdrasil. A lot of people think in the world tree that the 2 people we see in the world tree are Askir and Embia. Norse mythology's Adam and Eve. A lot of Norse mythology buffs have problems with this theory because it's too Christianized. That's a whole other issue for another day. Let me just get into this though, because this is hard, bruh. Instead of it being Askr and Embia, pretty much humans came for the world tree. Askr and Embia were literally birthed or made or created out of the wood from Yggdrasil. It's also cool to see that humanity is then rebirthed from that world tree in a sense, to where Lif and lifthrasir is the same world tree as Solus from Ragnarok or the Rumbling to come back and then repopulate the world from that same point. It's really cool that even in Norse mythology, everything comes back too. And Attack on Titan, I'm thinking everything will come back too. Lif and lifthrasir, I could go a little bit into them. Lif is the female, lifthrasir is the male. Lif literally translates to life. Lifthrasir translates to something like striving for life or struggling for life, something like that. And the reason why Lif and lifthrasir do take solace in the world tree is because of Surt's fire. During the battle in Ragnarok, Surt does have like a fire sword, and that burns the whole earth. So they use the world tree as solace during this time, and then they come back and they're the first two progenitors of humanity. And they are very, very like Adam and Eve. We all see that. I like to compare Lif and lifthrasir to Adam and Eve because of the role they do play in how the world gets repopulated. I'm gonna take this quote straight from Norse mythology or the Norse text. Lif and lifthrasir would have children. Their children would bear children. There will be life and new life. Life everywhere on earth. That was the end, and this is the beginning. And this pretty much solidifies it. If Lif and lifthrasir end up being the two humans of human shape we see in that world tree, when Ymir did dive into it, then it pretty much tells me that everybody dies but these two. But only issue I see with this is, of course, Nidhogg doesn't die during Ragnarok. He goes back to the bottom of Yggdrasil, so pretty much telling me that humanity will be doomed to live out this cycle over and over again. Because no matter what, Nidhogg will eventually latch onto somebody. At that point, the world will only step towards Ragnarok. If we assume that infinity is a thing when it comes to the timeline of both stories, then there's almost an infinite amount of times this cycle can take place. Because what is 1,000 years to infinity? What is 3,000 years to infinity? What is 10,000 years to infinity? In Attack on Titan, it probably would have took, say, 2,000 years for, Nidhogg to latch onto somebody and then the rumbling to take place or Ragnarok to take place. But let's say when Lif and lifthrasir repopulate the world, we don't know exactly how long that would take for Nidhogg to enact Ragnarok again. It could take 1,000 years, it could take 20,000 years, it could take 1,000,000 years. What is 1,000,000 years to infinity? If they are always doomed to live out the cycle again, it will eventually happen again. So, yeah, this one's kind of depressing because Eren allowed himself to become that devil to allow his loved ones to live in heaven, if you get what I'm saying. He allowed himself to be that devil and kill everybody, even the innocent people, just so his friends will no longer have to die and fight in this world shrouded in hatred, shrouded in revenge. But for him to do all of this just for everybody to die, and not even that, for Nidhogg to never die, and there will always be this cycle of hatred that will sooner or later lead to another Rumbling or Ragnarok. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. I fuck with this theory heavy because I'm thinking, based on how Attack on Titan, how dark Attack on Titan can be, this may be what happens, bro. Humanity will be doomed to repeat the cycle over and over again. But in that case, make sure y'all fuck with all of my other Attack on Titan explained videos. Them shit's low-key code, bro. I'll see y'all, man.